Now on to the world around us with Chris Biehn.
Good morning, Shawnee High School. This is groundbreaking. This is eye-opening. This is the world around us, and I'm your host, Chris Biehn.
The world around us with your host, Chris Biehn.
This week, as we celebrated St. Patrick's Day with yet another snowstorm here in New Jersey, Chicago continued its tradition of dyeing the Chicago River green to celebrate the festivities. The Chicago Journeyman Union Local 130 dumped a special dye into the river via boats at 9:30 a.m. on St. Patty's Day, and apparently the recipe for the dye is only known by this organization. And now we turn our attention to Malaysia, where the mystery surrounding the disappearance of jet Boeing 777 continues in day 11 of the search. The investigation reveals that navigation instructions were entered into the cockpit computer that directs the plane to turn west, which suggests that someone who is knowledgeable about airplane systems in the cockpit changed the plane's course. Because of this new information, authorities estimate that if the flight had not crashed, there are at least 634 possible runways across 26 countries where the flight could have landed if the one theory proves true that the plane was hijacked. We close this segment with an update on the crisis in Ukraine, where Vladimir Putin is at it again. In one short week, Crimea transitioned from being a part of Ukraine to holding a referendum last Sunday, where the population of Crimea voted overwhelmingly to become an independent state. Just yesterday, Putin and the Kremlin released an official statement that Crimea has become part of Russia after a treaty signing. The acting president of the Ukraine has denounced these actions as illegal, and the international community will not recognize the legitimacy of these developments. This week was not without casualty, as a member of the Ukraine's military was killed yesterday, and others were injured when a masked gunman seized a Ukrainian base in Crimea. That concludes today's episode of The World Around Us. This is Chris Biehn, sending it back to the studio.